It's 9 p.m. in the upper dorms. You hear a beep from your phone. You look down. It's a mandatory evacuation notice for a nearby fire. You panic, not sure what to do since you've never evacuated before.
On January 7th, 2025, just a few days after New Year's, 3 Californian fires erupted: the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst. It damaged many homes and forced hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate. Though none of the fires reached Webb, the harsh Santa Ana winds, racing up to 60 miles per hour, affected Webb campus as well.
Security staff George Vasquez, who was working in front of the school on Tuesday afternoon when the winds hit campus, reported that,
Well, pretty much when the winds started to impact us, the high winds came in. Obviously, the trees around here were moving quite, I guess in a violent way because of the high winds. The eucalyptus trees in front of us probably showed the most concern because they were bending quite a bit. And so obviously, you just think that at some point maybe something might snap. It wasn't until after I left that day, I completed my shift, and the next guy that took over, it was during his shift, that the tree right here in front of our packaging center, one of the branches broke off and then hit the other tree and then landed right there across the walkway, in front of, and then partially onto the Welcome Center loop.
Well, not only did the winds rock campus the night of January 7th, but it also frightened a lot of students. But I was wondering, what was your experience since you're in the upper dorms? I heard a lot of boarders, especially in the upper dorms, like Jones and Appleby, experienced the noise of the wind blowing when they were trying to sleep. Well, Kevin Wang, a student from the class of 2027, specifically claimed that.
I live in Hope, and the wind didn't really impact our dorm too much because except for the wind, except for the leaves that came inside really, because we're blocked off from the wind, so we're not nothing really affected us. At night, it was hard sleeping because the winds were so loud, and on Wednesday we didn't go to class, but as well as that, we couldn't do anything outside basically.
The winds were a major concern for the safety of the whole Webb community, which led to the school closing on Wednesday.
Mr. Ho, the assistant head of school, and dorm heads worked diligently throughout Wednesday to ensure students are staying in their dorms and following proper safety protocols.
Yeah, so we had been, we got the alerts, I think maybe Monday actually, in terms of the Sunday or Monday, in terms of the high winds and the forecast. This was even before the fires broke out. So before the fires, both the Palisades and the Eaton fire, there were reports that we were going to have extreme gusts. If you remember, I sent out a note to the students and made an announcement in chapel, just making sure to be mindful of that. But we were monitoring it, and we were monitoring kind of the conditions. We were mostly concerned about trees and things blowing around campus, in addition to possible power outages, right? Just because that's something that typically happens during windstorms like that. So all day on Tuesday, we were kind of monitoring the situation like sports, right? So throughout the day, we had different folks in facilities and athletics making sure that soccer goals were tied down, if the winds were picking up, having alternate practice plans and schedules. So we were just kind of monitoring. And I think when Tuesday afternoon, if I remember correctly, it wasn't too bad yet, right? It hadn't really hit us as far as the winds went. And then from that point, we were also making sure that the Tuesday OD team knew kind of what to happen if, right? And so just really a lot of communication, making sure we had plans in place if it got too windy and we were going to have to do an alternate dinner service, right?
Yeah.
Things along those lines. And then also just making sure that in the event of any emergency, students had go bags ready. We had, fresh lanterns and flashlights, things along those lines. Yeah, so I think for us, we were monitoring it pretty much all night, throughout the night, and then early on in the morning. And, when we were kind of assessing the situation in the morning, at that point, I believe there had been a wind warning in effect until late Wednesday night, or maybe even to Thursday. And so, because of that, and when we were kind of assessing the situation early on in the morning, the winds were still pretty gusty. So I think the factors we were considering were obviously students and faculty and adults, basically the community being around when there was still intense winds. That's a major factor as far as safety, things blowing, around and whatnot. If day students who had to commute, and if they were kind of affected in different ways in their neighborhoods, we don't necessarily know every situation in every neighborhood. I think for us, really, too, the unpredictability of it was really the thing where we decided to err on the side of caution, because even if the wind died down at some point, there was always the possibility that it could kick back up, right?
Well, not only are the teachers and staff working diligently to ensure Webb students' safety and help those affected or fighting the fires, but students have also been assisting with help efforts.
Adding on to that, with hundreds of thousands of LA residents forced to evacuate due to the fires, Webb students are working to support both victims and firefighters. Miss Billy, who is one of the activity leaders for the community service group, helped lead the students to organize supplies and clothes for those affected by the fires.
So as you know, for community service, we sorted through the clothes, because sometimes people give clothes that are just too worn, right? So we sorted through them. We threw away anything that we felt was too worn out or just not worth donating. So we did sort through the clothes. That's how I got students involved. But also I sent out an email to Student News asking if they had anything, like they didn't want anymore, like feel free to donate it. And there was a lot of students who actually went and bought things. Like I had a student who, Gia, gave us like boxes of feminine hygiene products, and they were all like, she just bought them off of Amazon like brand new, so that was wonderful, great. And so that's how I've gotten some students involved in this effort.
Yeah, so why do you feel community service is such an important part of Webb School's culture?
I think that it allows the students, because sometimes, being at Webb, especially because most of the students are boarders, it could become like a bubble, right? Like, because we get everything we need here. We get our food, we get our shelter, we got people looking out for us. And so that can make it seem, like there's not a use for us or use for doing anything in the community. And I think going out in the community and like realizing, oh wow, it's like bigger than us, like we need to help where we can and hear stories and, contribute as much as we can is helpful for just anyone's like growth, so exposing people to just more than just what we hear, where we live at Webb.
Right.
Mr. Ho also helped organize a firefighter care package and note writing activity in Stockdale on January 11th to offer students the opportunity to support the community. Ayan Samara, a student from the class of 2028, found the opportunity to be a great experience.
I remember it was a Saturday in Hooper. A bunch of seniors went with Mr. Ho on a run to get supplies, and we didn't know about it. But me and my friend Aaron, we went to Hooper to do Saturday check-in, and we saw them making the care packages, and we just thought it would be cool to help out. So we started making them.
So what are the care packages? What do you guys do?
We just made supplies for the firefighters to use when they're on the field. So we gave them Ziploc bags with gloves, cough drops, snacks. Basically it. They had jerky and gloves.
Despite the mass destruction and fear caused by the fire and winds, Webb has responded effectively with changes in class schedule and followed safety protocols.
Through collaborative efforts and endless support from students and staff, the Webb community continues to heal during this difficult time.